Anderson, Senior Pastor of the First Baptist Church of Gaston in Gaston, South Carolina. I want to welcome you to episode 115 of the Menorah podcast. Today's episode features a condensed version of my report on the Southern Baptist Convention in Orlando. Take a listen. What is the Southern Baptist Convention? I know some of you have joined our church from other denominations. I know some of you have joined our church. You're recently saved. You don't know what that is. And so I think it's a good thing that at least once a year we try to review the SBC, talk about it a little bit for those that might not be aware. And so the Southern Baptist Convention is a network of 47,000 churches that work together to reach the world with the good news of Jesus Christ. And as Southern Baptists, together we send missionaries, we train pastors, ministry leaders, we plant churches, we promote discipleship, we provide aid and relief in times of crisis, and we address ethical and religious liberty concerns related to our faith. So why should our church or any church send messengers to the Southern Baptist Convention annual meeting? Why should we do that? I came up with 6 reasons. Number 1, because our church is a Southern Baptist church in friendly cooperation. Number 2, because we allocate $30,000 from our budget this year to the cooperative program. It's a 250% increase from 2022. So if we're going to give money, I would like us to know how it's being used and where it's going. Number 3, we receive updates on how cooperative program dollars are being put to work. And that book right there, the Book of Reports, is a very detailed financial report of every entity of the Southern Baptist Convention. Number 4, we had the opportunity to vote for elect our officers. Number 5, we have the opportunity to vote on resolutions. And number 6, we have the opportunity to vote on items of business brought to the floor. And messengers can bring items to the floor. Bottom line is that First Baptist Gaston has a voice. As your pastor and your stewardship team in the past several years, we've made a conscious effort to raise our cooperative giving every year. We've tried to do that, and we have. And because of that, we need to know what's going on. And so tonight I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on. This was our 4th time. So first thing that happens at the Southern Baptist Convention is really important. It's called crossover. And so wherever the convention is being held each year, that state convention leads an evangelistic effort called crossover. So what is crossover? And so it's a group of volunteers that are made up of church members, seminary students, professors, and local churches to evangelize in the city before the annual meeting happens. And so it's not just Southern Baptists coming and voting and arguing and all that. We actually have people who are evangelizing in the city that we are in, right? And so for an example, I gave you a link to an article. The Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, which we'll talk about later, sent 26 volunteers to participate. And I gave you an article where they talk about that. This year at Crossover, 15 states were represented with 554 churches participating in Crossover. These events of Crossover include hosting, serving as volunteers, praying, and then those local churches being able to be a part of it. Because that's the thing with Crossover. While you have a lot of people from the Southern Baptist Convention who volunteer to be a part of it, it's up to the local churches to actually make those relationships and hopefully get those people who are saved involved to a church. Over the Crossover event in Orlando this year, 1,077 people came to know Christ. And that was one day before the convention started. Let's talk about attendance. This year in Orlando, it was the highest attended convention since 2021 when it was in Nashville. And so this year there were 11,692 messengers. And so of this, 4,018 represented the 47,000 Southern Baptist churches, which means 11.70% of SBC churches sent a messenger. 643 of those were from South Carolina. So there were a total of 21,143 people there. But only messengers can vote. But as I said, it was the largest attendance since 2021 at the convention meeting. Now, keep in mind that 70% of Southern Baptist churches average less than 100 people. The average attendance in Southern Baptist churches, as reported in that book of reports, is actually up this year, but it's at 96. So that's the average. If you take them all together, it's 96, but 70% of them are less than 100. And I did the math based on the church attendance that was reported this year by the North American Mission Board. First Baptist Gaston is in the top 13% of attendance among Southern Baptist churches. Now, you might think, well, that's good. We're in the top 13. It's actually sad. because there are a lot of churches who have more people in their communities than we have in ours that have less in their churches. So what does that mean? That means that for the majority, churches aren't reaching their community. And so I think that's important, because for us specifically, if we want to reach our community along with the other churches in our area, of course we could have a few more people in our congregation, but we're kind of right where we need to be. So for us to be in that 13% percentile is scary. Really, it'd be better if we were in that 30 to 40%. You say, what do you mean? That means that everybody is reaching their community. That's kind of what I think of that. So I want to talk about the International Mission Board next. During the Tuesday morning of the convention, we have what we call the International Mission Board sending service. And so this is where, as a convention, we get to send out our IMB missionaries who are getting ready to take the field. And so for me, it's the highlight of the Southern Baptist Convention. 63, either couples or individuals, came up, and Paul Chitwood, the president of the IMB, was able to pray over them. And so this is also a big deal of what happened at the convention this year. We vote on the budget. For 2026-2027 budget, the IMB is going to now begin receiving 51% of all national cooperative program giving. So the IMB is going to receive 51%. Obviously, that 51 is significant is because they are getting the majority of our budget. Why is that important? That's why we exist, and that's why we're Southern Baptists. We're Southern Baptists for the sake of cooperative missions. And so you say, okay, well, why hasn't this been done before? It was made as a motion last year in Dallas at the Southern Baptist Convention that the executive committee figure out a way to make sure that 51% of our financial budget went to the IMB. So the Southern Baptist Convention messengers do have a voice, and it was acted upon because the entities, including International Mission Board, have to do what the messengers tell them to do. And so if the messengers say we want to give more to missions, that's what we do. And so, as I said, 63 new missionaries were commissioned. Paul Chitwood, president of the IMB, said this: the missionary pipeline is exploding with a 500% increase in missionaries accepting the call to go on the field in the last several years. And we have 2 of our own who are a part of this. 400 newly funded missionaries were sent out in 2025 by the IMB. Currently, in the International Mission Board, we have 3,600 missionaries and 3,000 missionary kids in our IMB families. So, as Southern Baptists, we are financing 6,600 missionaries, because I'm including the kids in that, in the world. And that's awesome. That is not including North America, right? That's not North America. That's international. And so that is awesome. That's one reason I love going to the convention. IMB missionaries in 2025 shared the gospel with 1.6 million people. 144,000 people profess faith in Jesus Christ, and 68,000 of them followed through in believers' baptism. And so that's exciting. And so as Southern Baptists, when we give, right, when you tithe to your local church, a percentage of that is going to the cooperative program, which then is going to missions, which is funding all of this. North American Mission Board, we got a report from them. 12,000 churches have been planted since Kevin Ezell took over in 2010. Currently, there are 6,000 missionaries and chaplains across North America. Hannah and I got to attend the NAM luncheon on Tuesday, and we're able to hear from chaplains who are ministering to our soldiers across the country. We actually have 3,000 chaplains. And so half of the missionary force in the North American Mission Board are chaplains. And so that's pretty cool, military chaplains. And so 951 churches were planted in 2025 by the North American Mission Board. And for the first time in 75 years, we've had 5 consecutive years of an increase in baptisms. And so baptisms are ticking up, and that's the first time in 75 years. So that is super exciting. Send Relief worked with 1,931 churches across North America and Puerto Rico. In 2025, 44,566 individuals served 201,202 people across diverse communities, and 84,292 gospel conversations occurred. 3,000 total chaplains. They serve around the world and are a part of the North American Mission Board. In 2025, our chaplains presented the gospel 109 100,000 times, with 19,062 professions of faith and 2,702 baptisms in the United States military. And those are Southern Baptist chaplains that we support. Okay, motions. The headline issue this year that many of you have seen on the news, some of you have seen in the newspapers, all those different things, is the issue with women pastors. And I really believe that the media has not done anybody very well, and they've actually done the Southern Baptist Convention and our churches as a whole an injustice in how they have reported this issue. This is actually the fourth time that we have voted on this issue. This is not something new. This is something that we have voted on before, but this year was a little different because the wording was changed slightly, and it was presented by one of our seminary presidents. I want to explain this to you. Somebody explained this a lot better than I did, and his name is Dr. Ken Hemphill. He wrote a really good article that speaks about this and against this. And so, no, to answer your question, the Southern Baptist Convention is not banning women from ministry. I've actually read articles that say the Southern Baptist Convention voted to ban women from ministry. That's not what happened. And so, I've presented this to you all before. This is the fourth year. I've told you how I voted, and I'll tell you how I voted tonight. And so, as I told you before, in the past, I voted no on this amendment. What is this? The Baptist Faith and Message 2000 was written by Paige Patterson, Adrian Rogers, and some other guys. And in the Baptist Faith and Message, it clearly says that the office of pastor follows the guidelines of the New Testament, meaning that it is only a role for a male. Right? And so that's what the scriptures say, and that's what we follow. And so, as I've told you before, I voted no on this amendment. And as you can see, I was in the minority again. And so, in order for an amendment to be passed, it has to have 2/3. And so what this would mean is that this verbiage, there's certain verbiage that would be added to our Constitution. If you say, Pastor, oh no, are you for women pastors? Absolutely not. I'm not for that. But I'm also not for the convention getting an opportunity to try to tell us what to do. I want to quote something from Dr. Hemphill. He said, such a move will suddenly but clearly move us from a bottom-up government to a top-down structure. And so what we as Southern Baptists are is that we are a bottom-up governance. What does that mean? It means that the bottom, us, the churches, tell the top what to do, not the top telling the bottom. And so my argument with this, well, I'll read you what the amendment was, and it was brought by Dr. Moeller. A church in friendly cooperation does not act to affirm, appoint, or endorse a woman serving in the office or function of a pastor, elder, overseer, specifically preaching to the assembled congregation. And so in order for this to be added to our Constitution as Southern Baptists, it has to be passed 2 consecutive years with a 2/3 vote. And so it's going to be voted on again next year. This hasn't been added to the Constitution yet. But this has been my argument, and this is what Dr. Hemphill said. Local church autonomy is important. But the other part of that is that our Baptist Faith and Message works. I don't really think we need to change it. The reason I say that is because what could happen, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what could happen is if you have an amendment like this, change the Constitution, my question is, what's next? What next are we going to be told? Even though we already affirm it. So if our doctrine and if our doctrinal creed, the Baptist Faith and Message 2000, is not clear enough, why do we even need it if we're just going to add amendments? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I voted no. Obviously, I'm in accordance with the Bible. I was also really upset that other pastors who know that I voted differently than them called me a liberal, called me moderate. I think you guys know I'm neither of those things because I believe in local church autonomy. We have our doctrinal statement. We know what this means. I also think that we have to be careful. Obviously, I would say most all Southern Baptist churches are in agreement, and they don't have women serving as pastors, but we do have women serving in ministry. And if Southern Baptists did not have women serving in ministry, our churches would probably no longer exist. Because most of the time, in most Southern Baptist churches, women are doing most of the work. And I think that's important. And so I do think with an amendment like that, I understand where Dr. Moeller's coming from. I understand where some of those folks are coming from. But my point with that is we also don't need to slap people in the face that are helping us accomplish our mission. All right, so the elections. For the past 2 years, Dr. Clint Presley has served as the president of the Southern Baptist Convention, has been the senior pastor of the Hickory Grove Baptist Church in Charlotte since 2010. Dr. Willie Rice, pastor of Calvary Church in Clearwater, Florida, defeated Josh Powell. A lot of you remember Josh. He preached here last year. Willie Rice got 57.56% of the vote. Powell received 42.16% of the vote. I voted for Josh. Not just because I'm a South Carolina Baptist and he's a South Carolina Baptist, but because I believed in his vision. Not to say that Dr. Rice will not serve us well. I think he will. This year we were blessed. Both of our presidential candidates were highly conservative, good, godly men, good, godly pastors. I think Dr. Rice will serve us well, but Dr. Rice is a little bit more in the camp of the amendment, wanting to see that passed, and Powell was not necessarily on that. So that's kind of what decided my vote, as well as knowing Josh for a really long time. First VP who won that, Craig Carlisle, AMS, from the Utah Association in Gadsden, Alabama. He defeated Paul Purvis in a runoff with 65.92% of the vote. J. Allen Murray was the second vice president. He was elected pastor of Mount Pisgah Baptist Church in North Carolina. He defeated Ethan Jago with 55.38% of the vote. And our registration secretary, who has served in this role for several years, he ran unopposed because nobody wants to run against him because he is actually the mayor of Ozark, Missouri. And he actually, you guys remember when we do the RA race cars? Y'all remember those? He actually presented a race car with his face on it. Recording Secretary Dr. Travis Kearns, he is the Associational Mission Strategist for the Three Rivers Baptist Association in Greer. Dr. Kearns, he is a friend of mine. He's a former professor at Southwestern. He grew up at Taylor's First, where Hannah grew up, and he was elected after defeating Texas pastor George Schroeder it was a close one, 51.76% of the vote. Nathan Finn previously held that position as Recording Secretary, which works with the media outlets and organizations and gives them information. Resolutions. What is a resolution? A formal statement of opinion, belief, or concern regarding current events and social issues. The reason that the Southern Baptist Convention votes on resolutions that are submitted before the convention and reviewed by the business committee is to take stances on issues in our world. There were 9 resolutions that we voted on and approved. I'll give you those. Number 1, the commitment to the sanctity of life through opposing euthanasia and assisted suicide. Number 2, the importance of in-person church amidst the growth of technology. Number 3, border enforcement and the dignity of immigrants. Number 4, the office of pastor, elder, overseer is limited to men. Number 5, the importance of bivocational pastors. 50% of pastors in the SBC are bivocational. And that's a number that is going to keep going up. My dad is a bivocational pastor. Number 6, an encouragement for all ministers to finish well. Number 7, commemorating the 250th anniversary of the United States, noted the founders' belief in unalienable rights given by God and secured by government. I'm going to come back to that one. That's the only one I didn't support. Number 8, opposition to the rise of anti-Semitism. Number 9, opposition to political violence. You say, you don't want to celebrate the 250th of America? Yes, I do, but I want you to look at the verbiage of the resolution, is that they said, noted the founders' belief in unalienable rights given by God and secured by government. They did not believe unalienable rights for all people. They believed it for some people. So I didn't really like that part. All right, seminary report. So as Southern Baptists, we also, not only do we do all this with missions, we also prepare people for the work of the ministry in our seminaries. As Southern Baptists, we have 6 seminaries: Southeastern, Southern, the Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, Midwestern, Gateway, which is in California, and New Orleans. And so we have 6 seminaries that we financially support. And so our cooperative program dollars go to our 6 seminaries. And one thing that is really cool about being a Southern Baptist is when you go to seminary, your tuition rate gets cut by 50%. So if you are a Southern Baptist and you're part of a Southern Baptist church, for example, if we had somebody who was called by God and they wanted to go to seminary, we send them to a seminary, they automatically, because they're a part of our church, a Southern Baptist church, get 50% off their tuition. I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker. Entity reports. All of our Southern Baptist entities are doing well. These include Lifeway, Guidestone, ERLC, WMU. Several of those have new leaders. I'll highlight those. WMU has a new president. Her name is Carolyn Fountain. Lifeway has a new president, Ryan Blackwell. The Ethics and Religious Commission has a new president, Evan Leno. And Southeastern, to replace Dr. Aiken, has a new president, Scott Pace. And so that's just a little bit on those entities. We have 41 state conventions. There are 1,064 associations, so we lost 3 associations in the last year. There are a total of 46,608 Southern Baptist churches. 268 Southern Baptist churches closed their doors in 2025. It's actually more than that. I can't get you that exact number, but it's more than that because that 268 is supplemented with the number of church plants. So it's actually more than 268, but that's the net loss of churches that we lost. Total members of Southern Baptist churches is a little over 12 million, about 12.3 million. 264 is the average membership per SBC church. Total attendees of SBC churches, about 4.4 million. So look at that. We've got 12.3 million who are quote-unquote members, but our average attendance is only 4.4. So that's normal. Usually about only 33%, it's actually a lot lower here, but usually 33% of the people on the membership rolls actually regularly attend. But I will say that the total attendees of SBC churches is up by 156,000 more than it was in 2024. The average attendance of an SBC church on a Sunday morning is at 96. Total baptisms last year, 263,075, which is 12,423 more than 2024. So each Southern Baptist church is baptizing 5.6 baptisms. So they're having 5.6 baptisms per church. And then small group average, Sunday school, 2,650,000, so 2.6, 83,000 more than 2024. The average Southern Baptist church has 57 people in Sunday school on a weekly basis. I have a few thoughts based on all this. Number one, things are never as bad as they seem online. Let me say that again. Things are never as bad as they seem online. When you read something online, they are trying to get a reaction out of you. They're trying to word something in a certain way. The sky is not necessarily falling. As Southern Baptists, we are so much better together, and we have so much to celebrate and so much to be excited about. The fact that we're arguing about a conservative theological matter, we're really arguing about the methodology of it and how we want to go about it instead of the issue itself, is what I personally believe. And so the SBC is very much conservative, and I wrote that here. We argue more about a method for how to deal with issues rather than necessarily the issues themselves. I do think the IMB receiving 51% of the entire budget is huge. That's super important. We are better together. My main concern is about unity in our Southern Baptist Convention. It's like our world. The Southern Baptist Convention can have radical groups and groups who think really passionately, and passion's great, but how you treat people, how you talk to people about what you believe matters just as much. And so that does kind of worry me a little bit, because we do have some crazy uncles in the SBC family. Every family has a crazy uncle, right? If you say you don't, then you probably are the crazy uncle. But in the SBC, sometimes that can get a little scary, just based on how polarizing some people try to be. Well, that about wraps it up for today. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Our next episode is scheduled in 2 weeks, and we will be talking about our New York missions trip. I hope you'll join us.